Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Vindi Shafira, ID number 19029118. In this video, I will explain about my Macromedia product. The topic is ratio for 8th grade. When opening the product, it will immediately display the main menu consisting of basic competencies and indicators of competency assessment, learning objective, material, and exercise. There are also exit button, information button, and profile. Button information contains about the function of the buttons in the macro. There are home button the function is to back to the main menu, profile button to consists of profile of the owner, exit button to close the application, back button to go to the previous slide, next button go to the next slide. Start button to begin the exercise, finish button to finish the exercise and see the result of the exercise. Solution to see the solution of the problem in exercise. Calculate button to activate the operation of media. Reset button to reset the operation. And check button to check the answer. Profile button consists of my information. There are name and ID number and the lecturer, Mr. Fridgo Tasman. Next is basic competencies and indicator competency assessment menu. The basic competency for this Macromedia, I choose 3 basic competencies, 3.8 and 4.8. 3.8, distinguishing equivalent ratio and different ratio by using data tables, graphs, and equations. 4.8, solve problem related to the equivalent ratio and different ratio. The indicators of competency assessment are 3.8.1, identify the concept of equivalent ratio using data tables, graphs, and equation. 3.8.2, identify the concept of different ratio using data tables, graph, and equations. 4.8.1, solve contextual problems related to equivalent ratio. 4.8.2, solve contextual problems related to the different ratio. The learning objective. After this lesson, students are able to 1. Identify the concept of equivalent ratio, 2. Identify the concept of different ratio, 3. Solve the contextual problem related to equivalent ratio by using tables, graphs, and equation. 4. Solve the contextual problem related to different ratio by using tables, graphs, and equation. Next is material menu. Begin by selecting one of the correct image from the question asked. Who is more taller? The student have to choose one picture. From this picture, we know that the boy is more taller than the other picture. And the macro give direction correct. If we choose the girl, the macro give the direction incorrect. And then the next is which one has more liquid. Student have to carefully look at the information of the bottle. The green liquid, it has volume under 200, and the blue liquid, it has volume upper than 200, more than 200. Sorry. Next is the provide a summary of the ratio, and I'll give the example. sample questions. In the previous, what you did before is compare to object. In mathematics, comparison is known as ratio. Comparison between two objects or properties can be a difference. For example, Mr. Juan is 2 years older than Mr. Haikal. Comparison can also be expressed in the form of division or fraction. For example, Mr. Jamal's age to Mr. Mahen's age is 2 to 3. For a comparison to be simplified, both objects must have the same unit. When simplifying a comparison with different units, first equate the units, and then change the larger units to the unit to the smaller one. For example, simplify the ratio below: an hour to 75 minutes. First, we have to change an hour into the minute. We know that an hour equal to 60 minutes. So 60 to 75. Then we simplify, make it more simple. And then we check the answer is correct. If we give the wrong answer, it will give incorrect and try again. The next example is submit the previous. We have to put the answer here and here, and then checking. And then next is equivalent ratio. I give the illustration of the equivalent ratio, which is I give the illustration of a vegan apple. It give the more apples on one side, the heavier the scale will be. Furthermore, and this is the explanation from the previous illustration. Which is in equivalent ratio, if the value of one variable increases or decreases, the other variable is also increases or decreases. If the value of A is greater than the value of B is also greater. And then this is the simulation of of equivalent ratio. It gives the simulation I give is the relationship between a lot of gasoline and the distance traveled. In the information provided, 1 liter of gasoline can cover a distance of 30 kilometers. If you enter the gasoline value in the space provided and then press the calculate, for example, 7 liters, and then we calculate, it gives the result is 245 kilometers. If we reset it, it will start again. And if we give an alphabet in the blue and calculate it, it will give error. So it only useful for we only can input the number in the blue column. Next is I give an example of a equivalent ratio. And this is the graph of equivalent ratio. I give the illustration or animation so the students can understand better how to describe the graph. Next, I also detail how to draw a ratio graph into 3 parts. First, create a table for a certain range of value from a comparison. Student just need to only have to click the check button and it will give the more explanation. Second is calculate or complete the table with the appropriate value here. And then the third is make a graph of Cartesian diagram. Next to different ratio. In the different ratio material, I provide an illustration in the form of the relationship between the number of courses and the time to spend their feet. The more courses it the fewer days the course fit runs out. Here in the middle A, there are 5 courses with the course provided in the poster for 5 courses enough for 30 days. And in middle B, there are 7 courses with the same amount of COVID for 7 courses enough for 24 days. And I give the conclusion from the previous illustration. Based on this illustration, it can be concluded that the more courses there are, the fewer days it takes to spend COVID. In a different ratio, if the value on one variable increase, then the other variable will decrease. This is the other explanation about difference ratio. And this is the example. And for the graph, I'll also give I give the illustration and the animation to draw the graph. And I give the example. This is the solution. Okay, that's all for the material menu. And then we next to the exercise. On the exercise menu, students are asked to enter the name and press the start button. There are instructions about the exercise. In this exercise consists of 10 number, multiple choice questions. In each question, there is a button for all numbers. So if student want to return to a number that is far enough from the number being worked on, it will shorten the time compared to using the next and back buttons. Sorry. After answering one question, it will automatically move to the next question. And question 10 is not automatic to the practice score. Student must press the finish button first. This is so the student can recheck their answer on the previous number. After pressing the finish button, student will show their score. Then the resolution button of the exercise. The display of is the same as the practice view, which provide button for each question number but I add the next and back button because I think the student which student that confused about this answer using this or this. To close the macro, student only need to press exit button. So that's all from me. Sorry for any mistakes. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.